Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a concept that could really change how you think about, well, everything, from your morning coffee to how you handle stress. We're talking about your body's built-in, often invisible operating system, what our source material calls your MeatOS.
Yeah, it's a provocative term, isn't it? But it offers incredible insights into why we do the things we do, why we put things off, or why sometimes we just feel, stuck. This deep dive is based on some really rich source material that unpacks this MeatOS idea. And it offers practical ways to sort of biohack it for more energy, more strength, even spiritual well-being.
So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, really, a way to understand this powerful system. We'll get into some surprising facts and actionable strategies so you can take control, so you stop being run by your programming and start, well, running it yourself.
Okay.
Let's unpack this. So first things first, what exactly is this MeatOS and why should we care about it? The source describes it as autonomous, kind of running on its own and maybe even a bit out of date.
Well, what's fascinating here, the idea that your brain, your conscious mind, isn't fully in control of this MeatOS. It's almost like your consciousness is a separate app. There are studies showing your body often takes action, maybe 300 milliseconds before your conscious mind even knows what you're doing.
Wow.
Yeah. And this leads to what the source calls the laziness principle.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. This laziness principle.
hmm
It isn't about you being lazy, right? It's your body's programming. Its default setting is to conserve energy,
Exactly.
which explains why, maybe, going out for fast food seems easier than cooking. Even if you know the home-cooked meal is healthier, your MeatOS is basically convincing you the lowest energy option is the best one.
That's it. It's an energy conservation mechanism. So that raises a really important question. If our body is, inherently programmed for this kind of laziness to save energy, how do we override that for our own benefit?
Right.
The source sort of frames it as a fundamental choice. Are you run by your programming or do you run it? And this is where biohacking comes in.
Okay, so biohacking the MeatOS. The first step, according to the source material, is removing friction, things that drain your resources unnecessarily. And it points to some pretty surprising culprits right there in our diets.
Yeah, we can connect this to the bigger picture. A lot of modern foods, even ones we think are healthy, introduce these anti-nutrients.
Mm.
For example, phytic acid. It's found in things like nuts, seeds, beans, whole grains, soy, corn, common stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is it binds to essential minerals, calcium, iron, zinc, and basically makes them unavailable to your body. Humans just don't make the enzyme phytase to break it down effectively.
That's a game changer in how you think about some foods. What about other hidden drains, other friction?
Well, there are lectins. They're another kind of plant defense compound. Now, not all lectins are bad, but specific types in common foods can be problematic for some people, causing inflammation or gut issues. Then you've got histamines. For people sensitive to them, avoiding things like alcohol, pickled foods, matured cheeses, even leftovers sometimes, can almost magically increase energy levels.
Right. And it gets maybe more alarming with things we've added ourselves, like glyphosate, the weed killer you mentioned.
Exactly. Glyphosate is, well, it's everywhere in modern farming, especially on crops like wheat, where it's often sprayed right before harvest to dry it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it accumulates in fatty tissues, neurological tissues. It disrupts your gut microbiome. It's been linked to certain cancers. And it definitely decreases energy production. It can lead to more anxiety, more stress.
The source also points to issues with industrial dairy and some fish.
Yes. With industrial dairy, a common issue is A1 casein. It's a protein that can be disruptive for quite a few people. And homogenization, that process, creates these tiny microfat globules that your body doesn't really recognize as food in the same way. And with fish, yeah, there are growing concerns about microplastics, mercury, PCBs. The advice is generally to avoid farmed fish, especially tilapia, and bigger predators like shark and tuna. Better choices are things like bivalves, oysters, mussels, or younger, smaller fish like sockeye salmon.
And artificial additives. We probably know intuitively to avoid them, but why specifically are they such a drag on the MeatOS?
Well, things like artificial sweeteners, aspartame,
Mhm.
sucralose artificial flavors, colors, MSG, which is hidden as yeast extract, by the way.
Sneaky.
They're highly disruptive. Artificial colors and some sweeteners linked to brain issues, particularly in kids. Aspartame can actually cause food cravings and headaches.
Mm.
MSG is an excitotoxin. It can overexcite your neurons. These aren't just neutral, they actively drain your energy.
Okay, so step one is removing the friction, the anti-nutrients, the glyphosate, the artificial stuff. Once we do that, it's about loading up on the right raw materials to supercharge the system. The source uses this great analogy, like a superhero needing, 50,000 calories a day of the right fuel.
That's a good way to put it. It's not just enough calories, but the right elements and cofactors,
Yeah.
especially for your mitochondria, those cellular power plants. A key example the source really highlights is the fat-soluble vitamins, what it calls the DKE group, D-A-K-E.
Okay, what are they specifically, and why is taking them together so critical?
Right, so vitamin D is crucial, everyone knows that, but taking it alone can actually raise your calcium levels too high, which can lead to risks like kidney stones or even plaque in your arteries.
Oh,
Yeah, so the source is really strong on this. You should never take vitamin D without its partners A, K, and E to prevent those issues. Vitamin K, especially K2, is vital for directing that calcium into your bones and teeth, not into soft tissues. Vitamin A, the real kind, retinol only comes from animal foods, and it works with D. And vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant, protects against inflammation, supports brain, heart, hormone health. They work as a team.
so it's all about balance and synergy, not just popping one pill.
Yeah.
Got it. What about minerals? You hear less about them sometimes, but the source says they're vital.
Minerals are absolute biochemical superstars. The source even suggests they might be more important than vitamins for really upgrading your MeatOS.
Mhm.
It talks about the big minerals, calcium and magnesium, which work together, and sodium and potassium, where most people have an imbalance, usually needing way more potassium. Magnesium in particular is fascinating. It's involved in over 300 enzyme processes, and it's called a circadian mineral because it deeply influences both energy during the day and sleep at night.
And those smaller ones, the trace minerals, are they just as important?
No less essential, just needed in smaller amounts. Think zinc, often oversupplemented actually, which can deplete copper if you're not careful.
Ah.
Manganese supports blood sugar control, bone health. Molybdenum, you rarely hear about this one, but it's critical for mood, motivation, and detox pathways. Especially important if you're on certain diets or, say, hormone therapies. They all have specific important jobs.
Okay, so beyond vitamins and minerals, what other raw materials does the source recommend we prioritize?
It recommends focusing on soluble fiber things, like acacia gum, artichokes are good sources, and also finely ground insoluble fiber, like from psyllium husk, celery, cruciferous veggies. It also makes a really crucial point about fuel. Your body is primarily designed to burn fats and carbs, not protein as the main fuel source.
Right.
So a high-protein, low-fat diet can actually counterintuitively drain your energy and create harmful metabolic byproducts.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then adding beneficial herbs and spices like Ceylon cinnamon, not the common cassia type, saffron, rosemary. They offer anti-inflammatory, antioxidant benefits. And don't forget things for gut health prebiotics like acacia gum to feed your good bacteria, and postbiotics like butyrate, which is fuel for your colon cells.
Okay, so we've removed friction, added the right raw materials. Now we move to sending the right signals to the body. The source talks about slope of the curve biology, short, sharp, intense signals, then rapid recovery. This sounds like the exact opposite of, say, long, slow cardio or traditional weightlifting.
It pretty much is. The goal is to get better, often much better, results in a fraction of the time. Take strength training. The source argues you don't need to spend an hour sweating it out. Using things like variable resistance bands, the ones that get harder as you stretch them, can apparently grow muscle 3 times faster than weights because they challenge the muscle through the whole movement.
3 times faster. Wow. And what about electrical stimulation? That sounds pretty sci-fi.
It does sound futuristic, but it's incredibly powerful and becoming more available. Devices using multi-waveform electrical muscle stimulation, or EMS, they can sort of bypass your body's natural protective limits, those proprioceptors that stop you from hurting yourself.
Uh-huh.
This allows for really effective muscle building and tissue repair. The source shares a story about author Stephen Kotler using one for immediate relief from a shoulder injury that had plagued him. And now AI-controlled systems are making it even more precise.
Okay, what about cardio? Many of us still think long runs, spinning classes.
Well, the source suggests most of that long-duration, medium to high-effort cardio is kind of a waste of time if efficiency is your goal. It really taxes that laziness system we talked about. Makes sense. Instead, it highlights something called reduced exertion high-intensity training, or REIT. Get this. It's like a 2-minute warm-up, then 2 20-second all-out sprints, with about 3 minutes of very slow cycling in between. Then a cool down.
That's it.
That's basically it. It's over so fast, you don't have time to dread it. And it's supposedly super effective for building mitochondria and burning fat.
Intense bursts, not long slogs. Okay.
Yeah.
What else helps send the right signals?
Functional movement is key, like breathing, Most people don't breathe effectively, they don't expand their back ribs. Learning this functional breath increases oxygen intake, improves posture. Even simple exercises like an active leg raise can reveal hidden weaknesses in your hip flexors or hamstrings that might be causing issues elsewhere. And then you can fix them.
And I've heard about vibration platforms. What's the science there? How does that work?
Right. Whole body vibration. It works on this principle called piezoelectricity. Basically, your cells generate a tiny bit of electricity when they're moved or compressed.
Oh.
This stimulates growth and repair. Standing on one of these platforms tricks your brain into thinking you're doing way more movement than you are. Builds bone density, gets oxygen to tissues, helps lymphatic drainage. The source does warn against locking your legs or using machines that just rock side to side, though.
Yeah.
You want that whole body effect.
Got it. And blood flow restriction, BFR, sounds a bit intense.
It does, but it's really interesting. Blood flow restriction involves using bands to restrict, but not totally cut off blood flow to your arms or legs during exercise. This creates a local low oxygen state, hypoxia, in the muscle. And that, surprisingly, signals a big boost in growth hormone and maximizes muscle growth, even with much lighter weights. Makes it very efficient, easy on the joints. You can even start trying it with ACE bandages on your upper arms.
Okay. And finally, PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields.
Yeah, PEMF. These devices send specific electromagnetic pulses into the body. This apparently drives up something called bone morphogenic protein, makes your cells hungrier for energy, boosts metabolism, reduces pain. It's another one of these hacks to get exercise-like benefits without necessarily doing the suck workouts, as the source puts it.
Okay, so we've covered physical performance, but biohacking also targets the mind and recovery. The source says something interesting. If you're super stressed, the first step isn't a workout, it's actually a detox.
That's a really crucial point. Stress management is hackable. It's not just about dealing with it. The goal should be a rapid return to calm, to your baseline. That's absolutely essential before you start trying to build up your body. Chronic stress just undermines everything else.
Absolutely. And sleep is obviously fundamental for recovery. What are some specific biohacks for better sleep mentioned?
Quality sleep is just non-negotiable, right? For repair, growth hormone, testosterone. The source suggests simple things like a basic drugstore bite guard if you grind your teeth or clench your jaw. That affects blood flow to the brain, can even obstruct airways. And this one's surprising, mouth taping. Just a small piece of porous tape over your lips.
Really?
Yeah, it forces you to breathe through your nose, which sends more oxygen to the brain, reduces snoring, and seems to really improve sleep quality for many people. And of course, tracking your sleep with an app or device helps you see what's working.
What about light and temperature? How do they play into this?
Light's a big one. It activates mitochondria to produce energy, so getting natural sunlight or using red light therapy devices can aid recovery, reduce inflammation, and temperature. Sauna therapy, whether it's traditional or infrared, actually mimics some effects of exercise, helps detoxification, supports longevity. And cold exposure ice baths. Cryotherapy provides this powerful biological stress response that trains your body to stay calm under pressure, builds resilience.
And how can we actively support our body's own detox systems?
Well, lymphatic drainage is important for moving toxins out. Techniques like dry brushing or using compression sleeves can help. Supporting your liver is key. Compounds like glutathione, glucaric acid, glycine are mentioned. And making sure your kidneys function well, that means enough magnesium, plenty of water, sufficient electrolytes to help filter waste effectively.
Okay, shifting towards the mind. How can we use biohacking for mental states, like focus or calm?
Neurofeedback systems are a great example here. Things like Muse or Focus Calm use EEG sensors to read your brainwaves in real time. And then they give you feedback sounds, visuals, to train you to shift into different states, like deep focus or calm, or even staying calm while doing something stressful. There are also more direct nerve hacks, like stimulating the vagus nerve. It runs through your ear and neck, and it's key for the parasympathetic rest and digest system.
And combining sound and light, that sounds intriguing.
Yes, sound therapy can be incredibly powerful. The source mentions auditory integration therapy, AIT, which uses specific frequencies to strengthen auditory processing in the brain. And Stephen Porges' Safe and Sound protocol uses specially filtered music to help release and heal neurological trauma. People report really profound emotional responses sometimes.
Wow.
And then devices like BrainTap combine sound with light-flashing LEDs over acupressure points to guide your brain into specific states for, say, deeper sleep, creativity, alertness. Even just rapidly blinking LED lights are being looked at for faster recovery and hormone responses. It's an emerging area.
This deep dive goes even further, suggesting that truly mastering your MeatOS means rebuilding your spirit alongside the physical stuff. Not just physical resilience, but spiritual resilience, too.
Yeah, this is where it gets really holistic. And it raises the question, what does spiritual strength actually mean in this context? The source defines it as being deeply connected to practices like gratitude, forgiveness, kindness, seeing these not just as nice ideas, but as essential for a peaceful, happy life. It proposes this idea that our mind isn't just in our head. It's distributed through all our cells. And we can be held back just as much by a kind of spiritual laziness or inertia as by biological factors.
So that idea of issues in the tissues, trauma stored in the body, that really comes into play here.
Absolutely. Unresolved trauma really affects how your nervous system operates long term. The source talks quite a bit about forgiveness, clarifying it's not about saying something bad was okay.
Right.
It's about letting go of the grudge, the internal reactivity, so it stops draining your system, like turning off constant notifications on your phone. It even describes a process for self-forgiveness. Acknowledge the harm, connect with the hurt it caused you, find gratitude for any lessons learned, and then try to understand the other person's perspective, even if you don't excuse their actions.
That's a really profound way to frame it. Can we actually hack spiritual growth like we hack our bodies?
The source argues, yes, we can. While those deep spiritual states are often hard to describe, ineffable, technology might help accelerate the path. It mentions that inducing gamma brain waves, those super fast waves linked to insight and peak states, was once thought impossible to train, but now specific brain training seems to achieve it. And beyond tech, it highlights practices like holotropic breathing, EMDR therapy for trauma, and of course, traditional meditation as powerful tools for this kind of growth.
If it's so intangible, though, how can we measure progress? How do we know if our spiritual state is improving?
Well, the source points to heart rate variability, HRV, as probably the best objective data point. Higher HRV generally means your nervous system is more adaptable, less stuck in fight or flight. Also, improvements in sleep quality, more deep sleep, more REM sleep, even just remembering your dreams more often are seen as good indicators that things are moving in the right direction, both physically and spiritually.
Looking ahead, the source talks about a data explosion, how that's changing everything in understanding health in the MeatOS.
Yes, definitely. All the data from fitness trackers, health apps, genetic testing, microbiome analysis, it's all contributing to this huge global database. We're learning so much more, so much faster about how to hack the MeatOS. Soon, things like full microbiome mapping could lead to incredibly personalized prebiotics or probiotics. Like maybe you're missing this specific gut bacteria needed to make urolithin A from pomegranates, which is linked to anti-aging. You could potentially get those specific bacteria.
Wow.
Machine learning will analyze all this data to find connections, maybe even causes that we don't even suspect right now.
But the source also sounds a note of caution, right? Especially about future tech like implants.
It does. There are warnings about implants being potentially hackable, which is a scary thought. Also, the risk of companies going bust and leaving users without support mentions a real example of a retinal implant company failing. And just the unknown long-term effects of having devices constantly emitting electromagnetic fields, EMFs, inside your body. The suggestion is that advanced wearables are probably a much safer bet, offering similar benefits without the implant risks.
So after all this hacking, the diet, the exercise, the mind, the spirit, what's the ultimate point? What's the end goal?
The source is really clear on this. The ultimate goal is happiness. It notes that while money helps, up to a certain point for basic comfort and security, it doesn't really increase happiness much beyond that. And it emphasizes that you are the only person who can make you happy. Biohacking can make that journey easier, give you the energy, the resilience, but energy alone isn't happiness. Emotional and spiritual development are absolutely crucial. There's a powerful story shared about Sean Stevenson, a man born with a condition causing extreme physical fragility, who consciously chose happiness despite immense physical challenges. It really drives home that distinction.
Well, we've certainly taken a remarkable deep dive today into this concept of the MeatOS. From those hidden forces driving our choices to some pretty advanced hacks for body, mind, and even spirit. It's really a journey about unlocking resilience, equanimity.
And it's important to remember, biohacking isn't meant to be a rigid set of rules or just some fad. It's a personalized process. It's based on measurable results for you, and it should constantly adapt with you. It's really about taking informed control of your own biology, not just for better physical performance, but for, deeper emotional and spiritual growth too.
So what stands out most to you listening today? How much more of your own MeatOS is just waiting there to be understood, to be optimized? Not just so you can survive, but so you can truly thrive and handle whatever life throws your way. We really hope this deep dive sparks your curiosity and maybe empowers you a little on your own path to endless improvement.